What's going on, guys? Welcome to Tech Savvy Buyer. So today I'm actually going to be reviewing the Moqi i7S. Now, yes guys, this does look a ton like the PS Vita. Some may even say that this is the PS Vita's bigger brother, but it's not. So I know that this has been reviewed to death by several other bigger YouTubers, and today what I'm going to try and do is a little bit different than them. I'm going to give you guys gameplay, all the specs, all that other laydown like you would expect from anyone, but there's a couple of features that I feel like others kind of neglected to showcase of that, and today I'm going to give you guys a brief intro on that. But before we go ahead and do that, let's take a quick word from today's video sponsor, and we'll continue right after. Today's video is sponsored by winxhd Video Converter Deluxe. If you've been looking for a tool that allows you to download videos and MP3s from the internet, then this is the software you need. winxhd Converter can easily download 4K quality videos and allows you to convert them for use with Apple or Android devices. This is super awesome for content creators who want to use clips for B-roll in crisp 4K detail. Whether your goal is to download 4K videos for offline playback or collect MP3 music for further use, winxhd Video Converter Deluxe is your premier choice. It is safe and reliable without any plugins or annoying ads. Now you can get a hold of this awesome software for free by entering their giveaway for a licensed copy. But you gotta hurry up, they're only giving away 1,000 copies and it ends on August 31st, 2019. Head over to their website and get in on that giveaway. So if you guys ever need to convert any videos or download any 4K videos like this one, you can use winxhd Video Converter Deluxe and it's free. Definitely check them out, it's worth getting, absolutely. I use it all the time. Anyway, so back to this. So this right here is the Moqi i7S. And this guy is simply an emulation powerhouse. And it can basically play anything that you throw at it. So we're gonna go over some of the stuff that you can do. I'll walk you guys through all the specs, all that kind of jazz, so you guys get a good understanding of what this is. But before we jump into the gaming aspect of it, I wanna show you guys one thing that I feel like nobody really covered about this device, and that's the fact that this is actually a phone. So yes, everyone has told you that this is a phone, but nobody's actually demonstrated some of the capabilities of an Android phone that you would normally expect. Now, I'm not gonna cover how this is when you make calls with, and truth be told, I wasn't really able to test out the cellular service levels of this or how clear reception is on different networks because I don't have a plan that allows me to use my SIM card in this. Now, with that out of the way, this is ultimately a phone that has a lot of gaming enthusiastic features built into it. So it's kind of unfair to ignore the fact that you can't really compare this to, let's say, a GPD XD Win or a GPD XD Plus just because it's Android based. This, by the fact that it is a phone, now in itself is a league of its own, right? Like it's not really comparable to other devices. You can't compare this to even a cell phone because it's got its own built-in keyboard or built-in gamepad. So for that matter, I think this really has a unique market that the Moqi i7S is targeting. Now, that's not to say that if you use this as a phone, you're kind of look weird because, I mean, look at this, right? This is kind of weird just doing this and holding it. I mean, it's so huge, you don't really want to carry this around, but I can see the aspect of you really keep it primarily as a gaming device, but if you need to make a call to someone or you want to take a good quality picture, you can do that. Speaking of pictures, this guy has a 16 megapixel camera in the back and the front is a 5 megapixel camera. Now, not the most large megapixel cameras you're gonna see, but it does produce some semi-decent pictures. Take a look at some of my awesome selfies here that I've taken with this device and some other cool pictures I took, so you get a sense of what the picture quality is on this actual phone / gaming tablet. So it's carved out a nice little niche for itself just based on the market that it's targeting. Now that we've got the phone aspect aside, the fact that you can send text, do calls and stuff, that by in itself, guys, and the hardware inside this more than makes up for the value that Moqi is asking for this, or actually it's by snail. So let's jump through all of that stuff. Let me give you guys a very, very quick unboxing of what you get inside the box, and then I'll walk you through some of the gameplay that's on here, and then I'll give you my final verdict if I think that this is a device that you should actually pick up. So let's take a look at that unboxing now. So as you guys saw, it's very minimally packaged. It's not something super fancy, just comes in this plain old little box over here. The cool thing that I do like is that every single device ships with the screen protector on it already. Now optionally, you can get a glass screen protector. I'm not sure if Snail actually sends it out. I did get one, but I don't know if they send that to me because I'm reviewing this or if that's something that actually ships with it. I'll find out for you guys and I'll let you guys know in the comments below. Now let's cover the specs of this big bad boy. The CPU inside this is a Snapdragon 710 octa-core processor. It's boasting a 6-inch screen with 1920 by 1080p resolution, which essentially is full HD. There is 6 gigabytes of RAM, and the built-in memory on this is 64 gigabytes, which also has an expandable SD card slot or micro SD card slot that can go up to 256 gigabytes. Now, before I move on to more of the specs, I wanted to point out the micro SD slot on this is probably in the most painful area. It is tucked in the back, which means you need to take off the battery cover, and not only that, you have to remove the actual battery of this to gain access to putting a card in. So if you're one of those people that likes to take a micro SD card out, plug it into your computer, copy stuff over, and pop it right back into your device, this is going to be a pain in the butt to do that with. Not only is it just hard to access, but I also noticed in my testing that removing this cover was a very, very big pain. Now back to the specs, it does ship with Android 8.1 on it. It also has dual SIM cards inside, and it supports LTE as well. So one of the really cool features is that this also supports Wi-Fi AC, BG, and N, which means you can connect to 2.4 gigs, you can also connect to 5 gigs, and that is a far cry for devices that plan on doing any kind of game streaming. So if you plan on using Moonlight to get your NVIDIA game streamed over, Steam Link, or Shadow, this is going to be awesome to do that kind of stuff. Even if you're doing any kind of remote play in-house, 5 gigs is a must if you plan to do any kind of game streaming to an Android-based device. If you don't have it, like the JXD S192K had the biggest pitfall where it didn't have that 5 gigs Wi-Fi, which kind of really took a deep impact onto its performance of streaming. Now, aside from that, it's got a whole list of different kind of motion sensors. It has a built-in GPS, and it also has Bluetooth as well. So you have all the basic stuff you would expect to get in an Android phone, and then some for the actual gaming aspect of it. Now you can see the build of this is actually pretty solid. By far the biggest drawback and the biggest complaint I have with this device is the lack of including an L2 and R2 function in this. And you know, this is where I'm really iffy with some of these Chinese gaming handhelds slash phones slash whatever you want to call them. I reviewed the JXD S192K before, and I was absolutely in love with that until the issues that I started having came up. And the reason I liked it so much was because of the ergonomic design of it, the fact that you could slide a micro SD card in it however you wanted, and that they included the L2 and R2 buttons. Everything else on it just turned out to be really weak. The power of it just didn't hold up. So you had this awesome design with a really comfortable controller, but you didn't have the power. Now with the Moqi i7S, you've got the awesome power you need to drive any kind of game that you want on this, but you don't really have that controller feeling that you're looking for, such as the depressible analog sticks to give you the L3 and R3 or the L2 and R2. Now, Moqi has recognized that this is a shortcoming, and what they've done to offset that is include a really, really customizable software inside called their Moqi Key Mapper, or the do-it-yourself Key Mapper. Using this software, you're able to add on-screen touch controls if you want and create extra buttons. What's also cool is you can take an existing button and map it to whatever you want, whatever function you want. So suppose I want to take this button here and just change that to L2 or R2, or change it to anything basically I want, I can do that as well. Now, again, this might not be the most ideal solution for a lot of people, but it's good to know that you can use this for that kind of application you want. Now, based on the fact that you're missing those keys, some of the game experiences are going to vary for you, basically. They might not be the most ideal just because you don't have those physical buttons in place. So, for example, playing PlayStation 1 games where you need an L2 and R2, or playing PS2 games for that matter, is not going to be ideal. Now, I shared with you guys that this thing can actually play PS2 games, and I was not lying, guys. This can actually play PS2 games. Now, you guys might be looking at the performance and be thinking like, well, there's slowdowns here and there, and that's true, but that's also the limitation by the emulator, not the device. And I tested this with a Note 8, which is supposed to be, you know, a $1,000 phone at the time that launched back in 2017, and this was running circles around my Note 8 in performance, even though this is a mid-tier Snapdragon based processor inside here. So it's pretty well optimized for all kinds of gaming. Now you can see a bunch of videos from ETA Prime's channel, for example, on how he tests different GameCube games on Dolphin, and the experience kind of varies. In my testing, unfortunately, I couldn't really get GameCube games running on Dolphin super smooth. There was a few titles that I got running smooth, but I really wholeheartedly wouldn't recommend anyone to pick this up if you're planning on playing GameCube games. Where this device truly shines is the fact that it can play every other game pre-Nintendo 64 era. So if you have Super Nintendo, Nintendo DS, MAME, pretty much anything that you could think of that was leading up to Nintendo 64, this is going to destroy it. And there's going to be absolutely no lag whatsoever. In fact, you can boost up the resolution as well. And now, just like Rare said on his channel, this thing is a champ on PSP games. Like, this thing will absolutely demolish any PSP game that you throw at it, even the more taxing titles such as God of War. You can play that up to 3 times native resolution and still hit solid 60 FPS with a couple of dips here and there, but for the most part it's a very enjoyable and playable experience. Another area where this truly shines is that it plays Dreamcast games super solidly. Every Dreamcast game that I played on this played in 60 FPS with no issues using the Redream emulator. And if you guys remember, the Dreamcast came out right about the time of the PS2, and they both were 128-bit based consoles, which means if Sony didn't have a complex emotion engine kind of setup, emulating it would have been possible, and they could have achieved those graphics and performance on this had we have a software to really do so. So there isn't a hardware limitation. Also, the fact that you can play some GameCube games on it, albeit not all of them are at 60 FPS, that means that this has enough grunt in it that it can actually play through basically any game leading up to the 2005 era of gaming. Now, with that being said, the performance on this for PSP games and for Dreamcast games is just stellar. These games run super smooth. I didn't see any kind of latency issues with them. I didn't have any issues with these guys whatsoever. And I think that if you're one of those people that are looking to get Dreamcast games on the go or PSP games on the go, you do have a couple of other options. So, you know, the biggest one for, let's say, PSP, right? You have an option to either pick up a PS Vita. You can get it for a fraction at the cost of this if you're purely looking for just emulation. This is probably going to be my biggest recommendation. I'm a huge fan of the PS Vita. Anyone who's been following this channel knows I adore this thing. I love this guy. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other devices that can play PSP games better than this. Yes, you can bump up the resolution. Yes, you can overclock on this, but you will not get that level of performance on a Vita that you would on this. And that's just a simple stated fact. That's the truth. This is going to give you the best performance on PSP games that you can possibly get on a handheld device. So another cool thing that I feel like a lot of people didn't really give credit to was the fact that the speakers inside these are actually pretty commendable. They are pretty loud for a little handheld device, and although they're not on the front and they are on the back, even when your fingers tend to cover them, they still produced really good sound, really clear, albeit it's not going to be the most bassful sound, but it's decent sound that if you want to just put this somewhere and use it as a phone and jam out to some music, it will work perfectly fine for that application.
Battle 2. Fight!
Or even if you want to watch a movie on the go, it'll work great for that as well. Given that it is using a newer version of Android, you will get a good amount of support for different applications, like if you want to use Netflix, etc., you can run those. You can also play all the latest and popular Android games such as PUBG or Fortnite without any issue. Now, Fortnite on this, the performance was okay. I'm not going to say it was the best performance, and because it automatically defaulted to the low setting on it, and I wasn't able to go in and change it to medium or high, it just defaulted to the low setting. But here's the edge. Because this has remappable software built in, if you traditionally play Fortnite on any other Android device, it will not let you use a gamepad with it. It'll always say no gamepad allowed when you try and use that. Now, with the built-in software inside this guy, you can actually get past that using a little tweak that they have. Essentially, when you enable it on that app, it lets you use the joysticks and the buttons as if you're using a normal gamepad, and this makes a huge difference when you're playing against other people on a mobile device. So it's definitely cool in that aspect. Now, speaking of Android games, you're not going to have any issues running any Android game. Throughout my testing, every Android game worked flawlessly and smoothly. From Fortnite to GTA San Andreas, I had absolutely no issues playing any Android games on this, and all of them looked super crisp, super clear, and ran at full speed without any slowdowns in between whatsoever. The only drawback to this, like I said, is really the lack of an R2, L2 button, and also the shoulder buttons on this are a little bit fidgety. They feel kind of loose, kind of cheap to be very honest, and the only way you can press them is at a certain angle like this. If you press them straight down from the top, it doesn't really press that well, and you kind of don't get that responsiveness of that click that you're looking for. So at the end of the day, should someone buy this? And the answer is actually pretty simple, guys. If you don't have the latest smartphone in your pocket that can emulate a bunch of games, then this is absolutely worth its price. Today, you can find these anywhere between $375 to about $415 depending on where you go and pick it up. If you head over to Amazon, you can pick one up for $3.99 plus a little bit in shipping. I'll put a link in the description below where you guys can buy this. I would recommend anyone who doesn't have an Android phone today that is capable of emulating games, and that's what you're really looking to do, have a good gaming experience, to pick this up. It's also good to know that Snail, the manufacturer of this, is really standing behind their product, and they're constantly pushing updates via firmware and via Android as they commit to. They also have a robust customer service that's not hiding behind, chat windows and emails that nobody actually is able to get to. So that's good to know that there will be support for this device going forward. So should you buy this at the end of the day? It really depends on you guys. I personally wouldn't buy a device like this because I have a latest smartphone. And if you're one of those people that has a latest smartphone, you could probably just pick up a little gamepad attachment and put that with your phone, and you'll be able to play everything that this does as well. But if you don't have one and you want to get a smartphone that is capable of doing it, for the price point, this is a very, very attractive offer. You not only have the phone function, but you also have the capability to play a lot of games and have all of them available in your pocket. It has a respectable set of features. It has a nice, bright, vibrant Full HD IPS screen, and by far one of the coolest things about this is that it's liquid cooled. I know I didn't really touch on this feature and it's coming towards the end, but this is actually liquid cooled, guys. There's no fan, which means it's super quiet and it doesn't heat up. In my testing of extensive hours, guys, being a reviewer, you gotta really test a device and push it hours and hours and hours, and sometimes a lot of stuff starts to get hot. This thing was cool to the touch. It did not feel like it was being pushed to its max capability, and that's all thanks to the liquid cooling technology that Snail has implemented into this device. So guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed all that B-roll of the different gameplay that I was doing on this device. And if you guys did, definitely smash that like button. If you guys are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button so you'll be able to stay in touch when I'm pushing out new content with stuff related like this, or if you like stuff on the Vita or PCs or basically any tech related stuff. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button and stay up to date with the latest stuff that I'm putting out. But anyways, guys, it was a pleasure reviewing this. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them and address them in a timely manner. And until then, I will see you guys on my next videos. Take care, and bye-bye.